Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Monika Michalska and I am representing VSB-Technical University of Ostrava from Czech Republic. And today I have a pleasure to share with you my latest results regarding with fossil approach for fabricating graphite carbon nitride based materials as a metal-free photocatalyst. At the beginning, I will tell you some information about the graphite carbon nitride material, synthesis of this material. Then I will present you some physical-chemical analysis and photodegradation processes that were done for the synthesized materials. And finally, I will summarize the achieved results. Graphite carbon nitride is a two-dimensional metal-free polymeric material that has been the subject of extensive research in recent years due to its semiconducting characteristics. Among its defining attributes are high thermal, physical, chemical, and photochemical stability. Because of its non-toxicity, low cost, and ease of fabrication, graphite carbon nitride has a diverse range of applications in photocatalytic processes, including carbon dioxide capture and reduction, hydrogen production, oxygen evolution, and so on. And due to its 2.7 electron volts bandgap energy, what is like circa about 460 nanometers. It is capable of absorbing visible light, rendering it beneficial for a multitude of applications, including the construction of solar cells. On the previous slide, I show you some kind of the advantages of graphite carbon nitride material. But we have to also talk about kind of the disadvantages of this material. So basically, photocatalytic activity of pristine graphite carbon nitride is still not satisfactory under visible light irradiation because of rapid recombination of photogenerated electron-hole pairs, low absorption in visible light region, and small specific surface area. And that's why we are here, and I will show you some results that we achieved, and we could state that we find the positive way for the graphite carbon nitride material and its composites. Thermal polymerization of precursors such as urea, thiourea, dicyanamide, cyanamide, ammonium dicyanamide, or melamine can yield graphite carbon nitride material. Here you can see the scheme of the synthesis of graphite carbon nitride. So we could say that the loss of ammonia causes melamine as a substrate to undergo the polycondensation reaction, leading to the formation of the graphite carbon nitride polymer through the melam that is created circa about 300 degrees, then melam, which is created between 400 and 500 degrees, or melom up to 550 degrees structures, and at approximately 550 degrees, melon polymerizes to form graphite carbon nitride planar structures. And among the various products which you could see, that are achieved within this kind of the temperatures. Malum is the only one to exhibit superior thermodynamic stability existing in a temperature range between 400 and 500 degrees. Here you can see the reaction pathway for the formation of graphitic carbon nitride, where dicyandiamide was used as a substrate. What is important to see on that slide, that within the increasing temperature from room temperature to 240 degrees, the melamine was formed, and finally, within the increasing temperature, as I showed you on the previous slide, graphitic carbon nitride was formed. So we could say that in general, grain size, pore volume, and surface area may affect the physical-chemical properties of different materials, different nanomaterials, such as graphitic carbon nitride as well. A variety of physical and chemical methods have been employed to achieve graphitic carbon material, including sol-gel method, hydrothermal, or servothermal. But we could say that these methods are time-consuming, expensive, and require several stages to be completed, as well as the use of specific equipment. So we could say that one cost-effective and scalable approach is the direct thermal polymerization approach, which can yield a higher amount of the assumed graphitic carbon nitride product. And based on our previous works and experience, so we demonstrated that melamine is the most effective of the possible precursors and meets the aforementioned sophisticated requirements. In our case, graphitic carbon nitride-based materials were prepared by thermal treatment processing of melamine, which was used as a precursor in nitrogen or air atmosphere for 30 minutes at 400 degrees, 450 degrees, 500 degrees, and 550 degrees respectively. And you can see also the color of our powders, which was from white through bright yellow to dark yellow. And dark yellow is the color that is classical for the graphitic carbon nitride material. Okay, so we have two sets of samples. In total, we have 8 samples, right? Which were heat treated in air or nitrogen flow. So to get more information about our materials, we performed the elemental analysis to get an information about the content of carbon, nitrogen, and hydrogen. And what we could see from the results that we achieved, you could see also in the table. So basically, when the material was heat treated at 400 degrees, malum and remaining malum was present. With an increase in heating temperature by 15 degrees, malum was formed in both cases. Later, when the annealing temperature was like 500 degrees, we observed the formation of malum structure that was predominant, with some remaining of malum. And upon annealing melamine at 550 degrees, the graphitic carbon nitride structure predominated with remaining malum content. Okay. Okay, so later we performed the X-ray part of diffraction analysis for our two sets of samples that were heat treated at various temperatures in nitrogen and in airflow to track the changes in the phase and the structure. And a slight difference was observed between the intensities of samples heated in nitrogen and in air atmospheres. On the previous slide, I show you the experimental XRD analysis. So here you can see the experimental XRD analysis that were supported by calculated DFT, D3 theoretical models, which helped us to identify the dominant and predominant phases. And what we could also say that these results that we achieved, we were able to compare with the results of the elemental analysis, which I show you in a summarization in the table. So what we could say that the XRD patterns for the samples heated at 400 degrees were attributed to melem as a dominant phase and remaining melem respectively. It was observed that a pristine melem structure was created when the heating temperature was raised by 15 degrees. At 500 degrees, the melem structure is the predominant phase with some remaining melem. And finally, the graphitic carbon nitrate structure was found to be dominated by a remaining melem content following annealing melamine at 550 degrees. A scanning electron microscopy technique was employed to examine the morphology of our samples prepared by thermal treatment at 400, 450, 500 and 550 degrees in nitrogen and in air atmospheres, and what we could see from these images. So basically, all the powders exhibited a layered structure and tendency to agglomerate. Here you can see the diffusive reflectance spectroscopy results with Tauk plots. And thanks to those data, we were able to calculate the band gap energy values. So what we observe that a decrease from 2.92 electronvolts to 2.71 electronvolts as the temperature of annealing increased in both nitrogen and air atmospheres. And when we compare the same temperatures, there was no difference in the energy band gap values of samples heat treated in nitrogen or airflow, and this finding is consistent with redshift changes at the same temperature, which were almost identical in both nitrogen and air atmospheres. Those data we also compared with the experimental and theoretical XRD results and elemental analysis, and we were able to confirm that at 400 degrees, the presence of melem was a dominant phase, and remaining of melem. Finally, when we increased the temperature within 50 degrees, a pristine melem structure was formed. At 500 degrees, the melem structure predominates with some remaining of melem, and the graphitic carbon nitrate structure was predominant phase with a residual melem content observed following the heating of melamine at 550 degrees. So what was also important for us that we compared those data with photoluminescence spectroscopy, which you will see on the next slide. And the photoluminescence spectroscopy results for the two series of samples that were heat treated in nitrogen and air atmosphere. You can see on those two figures that providing the positions of the maximum emission bands, which are included in the table, and energy band gap values that were evaluated from those data. So what is important from those results that we achieved? That both series of samples demonstrate that as the annealing temperature increases, the emission bands are redshifted to higher wavelengths from 422 nanometers to 472 nanometers. And what we also observe that there is the difference within the maximum emission intensities, and the highest were observed for the samples that were heated in nitrogen atmosphere. Finally, we compared the energy band gap values which were estimated from the PLS spectroscopy results with DRS spectroscopy, and they are almost the same. To get a final information about our synthesized samples in nitrogen as well as in air atmosphere, we performed the photodegradation experiments, and the experiments were performed over acid orange 7 model die, and were analyzed under UV lamp and VIS lamp. And here on the figures you can see the changes in acid orange 7 concentration with the duration of UV or VIS light irradiation. And on the next slide you will see the photocatalytic activities which were calculated from those data. As I mentioned on my previous slide, now you could see the photocatalytic degradation activities for the samples which were synthesized under nitrogen and air atmospheres and were evaluated over acid orange 7 dye under UV and VIS lamps. So what is important from the results which we achieved, that after 3 hours of irradiation under UV or VIS light, the photocatalytic activities were between 70 and 99% for samples heated in nitrogen, and 50 to 99% for samples heated in air atmosphere. Furthermore, we could state that the photodegradation activity was found to be superior under UV light for both groups of samples. And the sample heated at 500 degrees that represented melon, that two phases, and was heat treated in nitrogen atmosphere, revealed 75% activity after 15 minutes under UV light and 22% under visible light respectively. Considering the pristine melon sample which was synthesized at 450 degrees under air, exhibited 76% of the initial activity after 15 minutes of UV irradiation. The sample that was heat treated at 500 degrees in air, that represent melon, demonstrated 10% and 91% of the initial photodegradation activity after 15 minutes, and 180 minutes of irradiation under visible light respectively. And it is noteworthy that it is the first instance of a straightforward approach that is scalable, cost-effective, and environmentally benign in achieving metal-free photocatalysts based on graphite carbon nitride compounds derived from melamine. Furthermore, the process of thermal treatment in nitrogen or air at temperatures ranging from 400 to 515 degrees Celsius, involving a mere only 30 minutes holding period at the selected temperature, is also worthy of mention. The proposed novel approach to the development of graphite carbon nitride-based materials demonstrates that organic composites created at lower temperatures display the highest photocatalytic properties, allowing for the reduction of time, energy, and financial resources typically required for the manufacturing of the high-quality photocatalysts. Okay, so let's go to conclusions and to summarize my results, which I show you. So, a facile, scalable, and low-cost method was proposed for the synthesis of metal-free photocatalysts based on graphite carbon nitride compounds derived from melamine. The method involved a 30 minutes thermal treatment in either nitrogen or air at temperatures ranging from 400 to 550 degrees Celsius. The effect of temperature and atmosphere on the degradation of the model acid orange 7 dye under UV or visible light irradiation was evaluated. The X-ray diffraction results aligned with the elemental analysis. In this study, also the density functional theory with the D-free dispersion correction method was employed to support the experimental findings, and the calculated DFT D-free results demonstrated a strong correlation with the XRD experimental data, indicating that the reflections of the studied crystal structure gradually disappeared from the XRD pattern as the temperature increased. This observation was further confirmed by the redshift observed in the ultraviolet visible spectra, which indicated a shift to lower energy levels. The results of the diffusive reflectance spectroscopy analysis were consistent with those of photoluminescence spectroscopy. Following a prolonged irradiation period, 3 hours under UV or V light, the photocatalytic activities were observed to be 70 and 99% for samples heated in nitrogen and 50 and 99% for samples heated in air, respectively. Both cases demonstrated superior activity under UV light. The sample heated at 500 degrees in nitrogen atmosphere that representing melon and remaining of melon revealed 75% activity after 15 minutes under UV light and 22% under visible light, respectively. Sample that represents pristine melon and was heat treated at 450 degrees in air had 76% activity after 15 minutes under UV radiation, and the sample that consisting melon and remaining of melon that was synthesized at 500 degrees in air showed 10% and 91% of photocatalytic activity after 15 and 180 minutes of irradiation under visible light, respectively. A principal outcome of this research is the demonstration that enhanced photocatalytic efficiency can be achieved through the use of organic composites synthesized at relatively lower temperatures, eliminating the need for conventional modifications such as incorporation of transition metal oxides. And this approach reduces both energy consumption and manufacturing costs while maintaining high photocatalytic efficiencies, offering a more suitable pathway for the development of photocatalysts. Here you can see the graphical abstract of our work and some important highlights from the work. And I am inviting you to read our paper that we have published this year in Results in Engineering journal. Finally, I would like to thank for Science Father organization and organizing committee that nominated me for the Best Researcher Award at the International Innovator Awards for the work which I have just published in Results in Engineering journal. I would like to underline here that it was collaborative work that was realized within the AtomDETS project. It was the project which was realized within Visegrad and Japanese teams, and I am also thankful to the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports from Czech Republic for the financing support, and I am inviting you to read our joint collaborative work, and I'm open to collaborate with you, and thank you very much for your kind attention.